Growing up, men are taught that the most valuable thing they can do in their lifetime is finding a wife and providing for a family. But in a society that is so-called patriarchal, I must ask, how patriarchal is a society where fathers are treated as second-hand citizens, second class, nothing, dust on the bottom of a shoe? We see this evidently over and over and over again in the family courts, the way they're portrayed on TV shows, all the way down to an assumption that if a man isn't seeing his kid, it's not possibly because the mother is vindictive, it's solely because he doesn't want to be there. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to show you definitively that that is just not the case. Before I get started, please go activate that like button so that it can wake up and hide one of every single pair of Becky's shoes. That way she'll be late for any date that she's trying to sucker some men into giving her some dick.
This is 18-month-old Ellie. She was born 3 months premature, weighed a little over a pound, and
most babies are ugly, but she's so cute.
Chance of surviving. Now, she spent 5 months in the NICU and has been in and out of the hospital 8 times since.
What a trooper.
Ellie has a trach tube, a feeding tube, is unable to talk, and must live in a completely sterile environment.
Wow.
However, the problem we're focusing on today isn't Ellie's health. It's her parents, who just can't seem to get along. Candace claims her ex-husband Miguel is an absent father who has abandoned her and their precious daughter.
Typical narrative.
Miguel is a deadbeat absentee father. Miguel has visited Ellie 2 times since he abandoned us. He will say that he's coming and then right at the last minute say, "Oh, I'm sick." Miguel uses the bad relationship between himself and my mom as a crutch to not have anything to do with Ellie. Miguel is very full of excuses. My daughter has a tracheostomy and she has a feeding tube. Miguel knows absolutely nothing about how to take care of Ellie and all of her medical needs. I believe Miguel has chosen his new wife over his disabled daughter.
This is not the typical circumstance where a guy has a girlfriend or he slept with a girl and, she lied about being on birth control. Remember, these are ex-husband and wife. Probably definitely had this baby consensually. So, sure, even a mother can walk out months or years after the baby's been born, but society will look at her as trash, as she should be. The first thing she said about him is, "Oh, he's a deadbeat." She didn't have any critiques like he's just not there, he's a band, like that wasn't her first thing. Whenever I hear a woman call a man a deadbeat, water fills up in my ears. I just don't hear you anymore because it shows me that number one, you have no respect for the father of your kid, and number two, that you're most likely the problem. He abandoned us. You have a baby that has some really intense healthcare needs and you're worried about yourself?
Well, Miguel says, whoa, that is completely untrue.
And the truth comes out.
He is desperate to see his daughter, but that he can't because Candace holds her hostage at his ex-mother-in-law's house.
Wow.
Now, he claims both women are to blame.
Sounds about right. Two devils.
My ex-wife Candace is a vindictive, jealous, habitual liar. One of the main reasons I wasn't able to visit Ellie was because around March, Candace's mother had sent me some seriously nasty text messages telling me that under no circumstances, as long as my daughter is under her roof, that I will ever see my little girl.
I hope he has some
proof. I took Candace to court for contempt because they were keeping me out of the house. That's why I can't make the 6-hour trip. They're vindictive enough and have been to where I could get 5 hours into my 6-hour trip and they could just change something up on me in a heartbeat.
Wow.
I wouldn't be able to see her or your time's gonna be limited. They're just playing games with me. It kills me not to be with my little girl.
He was choking back tears there, whereas in her interview, if you mute it, it just looks like she's saying what she had for lunch. But then if you mute his video and you just watch it, clearly a lot of emotion.
Well, the only thing Candace and Miguel agree on is that they disagree on everything.
Wow.
Just months ago, Candace claims Miguel took his desperation to a dangerous level, threatening her safety as well as their daughters.
Oh no.
There was one time when Ellie went into the hospital and I was continuing to keep Miguel updated as much as possible, but most of those texts or phone calls were being ignored.
After Candace told me that Ellie was in the hospital, I asked her, how's she doing? And she refused to tell me. She just said, she's at the hospital, it's bad. I was like, just let me know what her security code is if she gets admitted so I can call and talk to the hospital. She refused to give me this code.
I believe him.
Contacted the hospital myself. They said, hold on, we got her in the ER. The ER then sent me to the OR, which I was freaking out thinking, did my daughter have surgery? Is she having surgery? What's going on? And then the OR basically is like, oh, no, she's on the 8th floor. I'm like, I'm Ellie's father. I'm just trying to see how she's doing. And she's like, there's no Ellie here, sir. We can't tell you anything. And at the time, I got extremely frustrated. 2 people plus Candace just confirmed that my daughter's in the hospital. And now this lady is denying that my daughter even exists. I said, this is ridiculous.
I would be mad.
I'm going to just sue the whole hospital for everything you guys have.
Because the
I would say that.
secretary would not allow him to have access to her information.
Because you told her not to.
To kill me and shoot up every nurse in the hospital if they didn't give him the GD information.
Okay,
on his
that's going
GD
too
dog.
far.
The nurses were on alert. Police officers were guarding the hospital.
Candace texted me, she's like, are you stupid? They told me that you were gonna come in here and shoot me in the head, and you said that explicitly, and all these kind of crazy things. The only thing I could think of is that she took, I'm gonna sue the hospital as shoot the hospital.
Those hospital threats did prove how irrational, scary.
I don't
and
believe her
terrorizing
because
Miguel
there's no emotion in her
This is
face.
another example of my ex-wife Candace just being a complete liar and being completely vindictive against me and trying to keep me from seeing my little girl.
I wonder what the hospital has to say.
So you say he's just absent, he's abandoned her.
Yes, I do. I feel like he just doesn't care about her, and if he does, he has a really terrible way of showing it.
Okay, well, the separation agreement says he can see his daughter anytime that he wants.
Right.
And you say, despite that, he has seen her twice in, what, 10 months?
Yeah, something.
Now, is that 'cause you're making it difficult?
Let's say April of 2013 and currently.
And the last time he saw her was 4 months ago.
Right,
He's not plugged in.
right. He's totally, he knows.
Is that
nothing.
true?
No, I'm trying to be plugged in as much as I can
Well, why aren't you?
because I've tried
It's
to.
your daughter. The court says you can see her. Why aren't you seeing her?
Because when I went to
Facts.
go down and see her, that's when her mother would send me those messages saying you cannot
You should have
come
wanted to
see
see
her
her
daughter
regardless.
under any circumstances. There's been
They both just agreed on the fact that he has only seen his child twice. They also both just agreed on the fact that her mother specifically told him not to go anywhere near the home. So what they were doing is trying to bait them. And I can tell because her response to that was,
daughter.
regardless. You want this man to just show up so that you can call the police, play the whole, I'm a woman, I'm a victim, and then he goes to jail because he's the man, he looks guilty, and then you get to have that like on a court record somewhere.
False accusations against my family and things of that nature, and they won't allow me to bring her other family to come see her or anything like that.
She didn't
And
deny
I
that.
can't take the chance of being within that home with our whole family around
Yes.
of other accusations of
Okay,
happening.
but this is your daughter.
Yeah, they could work
and
together.
You have the right to see her according to the court.
Yeah.
So why would you react to or give your power away to somebody sending you an email? Somebody sends you a text message,
should have
says,
wanted to see her
you're a slime
regardless.
ball. I hate you. Don't
Lady,
come around here.
shut up.
You have a court order that says
You don't have a
can.
place
Why
to
would you
speak.
not do it?
I guess I was so afraid of going down. I was trying to do the best I could to keep peace. I truly was, and that's something that I definitely regret. I regret not going down there.
I
and just
understand his
knocking on the door.
position.
Even if the door was closed in my face, I should have called the police and taken it from that
You
stand.
want to talk about peace?
He just didn't
Are
want to
you
escalate
kidding
the
me?
situation.
Your idea of peace is sending text messages to me where you're screaming and cussing at me and calling me every name in the book. That is not peace. That is a flat out lie, and you know
Probably
it.
because you
Okay, well,
pushed him
here's
to
what
his
the court
worst.
says that you have the right to do. This is the finding of fact. It says, quote, while Eleanor has her tracheotomy and her gastrointestinal tube, father may come to the residence of wife to visit Eleanor whenever he wishes. Wife wishes to encourage this contact and shall accommodate this visit by allowing liberal amounts of time for husband and Eleanor to spend peaceful time together.
Okay, so pretty clear he is supposed to have pretty much like full access regardless to his child. So why she's not letting it happen? Obviously, she's vindictive. She's a bitter Becky bitch. But also, he's not putting in his full effort because it says right there he could take her back to court and she could be held in contempt.
You're not going, and she's not allowing liberal time and peaceful time.
And my biggest issue is that peaceful time, because there's times where I'll be like, hey, can I have am I going to have a peaceful time? You know, am I going to be able to sit in a room alone with my daughter? And she's like, there are no private rooms in this house.
Why would you sit in a room with a child you don't know how to take care of? Every time you've been in the hospital with her, you can't even change her diaper.
Because you're not giving him the
allowed me to
time.
Maybe the reason he doesn't know
Say it.
is because you've locked him out.
Facts.
It's never been my intention to lock him out.
Oh, really?
It wasn't my intention.
On that note, we need to take a break. Next, I want to talk about what the social worker said really went down at the hospital.
What he said about this peaceful time, I'm sure that so many dads can relate to that, because I know for a fact that there are so many ex-wives and single moms that try to manipulate the time that the father is supposed to have with his children, bonding with his children. The mother wants to either stand over him and critique him and tell him what to do, or she wants to try to use that time to hash out the past relational problems. Like, this happens all the time. It's really unfair, and I have no doubt in my mind that she's that type of person.
The social services record says the social worker allegedly blamed her, you, for not giving your ex-husband the patient's FIN number so he can get
And the
medical
truth comes
updates from the staff. Mom was adamant that she is not going to leave patient's room under any circumstances.
Wow.
Social worker reiterated to Mom that both have shared custody and he is allowed to visit separately given their volatile history. Candace advised hospital security will be contacted should she agree not to leave the room, and
Rightfully
security
so.
will have her escorted.
Yep.
This mom repeated numerous times that she will not leave the room and let the dad have private visits with the patient.
How selfish.
Hospital security will be notified upon dad's arrival. He is allowed the patient's FIN number that mom hesitantly agreed.
He's the dad.
Mom said she felt it is unfair that patient's dad be allowed to have private visits with his daughter.
Okay.
How is that unfair? There is a little girl who has been fighting for her life since the moment that she was born. And when she's a grown woman, she is going to hear that her father not only just wasn't there for her, he wasn't able to be there for her. Her mother put her own selfish needs before the needs of her daughter. You miss him? You want to like suck his toes while he's there?
You need to, yes, because that to me sounds like you are being highly obstructionistic.
That makes me sound crazy. But
And
let
in
me tell
fact,
you,
you
You're
wanted a
crazy.
new social worker because this one didn't agree with you.
Oh, of
problem
course.
was when he contacted me for the FIN number, it was 4:30 in the morning. My daughter had had a really rough night. We were in the
It doesn't
emergency room
matter.
for 16 hours.
She texted me at 2 o'clock in the
I
morning.
was
telling me
letting
my
him
daughter's in the
know
hospital.
what was going on via text
Why not
message.
give him the number?
Because I was asleep.
You weren't asleep during your meetings with the social worker, were you?
No, I was not.
Exactly.
I was
Then
not.
why were you continuing to say that her father does not even have the right to have the access number to get
Facts.
medical updates on his daughter?
In hindsight, I should have just given it to him.
In hindsight?
I will own that. I will say that I should have given it to him.
Then why did you want to
Be a
fire
better
the social
person.
worker? Because she's telling you what you don't want to hear.
I have had a really rough history with that social worker. This is one
Because
that
she
has
calls you on your shit.
terrorized me in different ways, and I know that probably just seems like I'm just calling people out and calling people crazy and not owning
So
it.
you were terrorized by a social worker.
She threatened to call social service. She threatened to call DHS on me because
She
my
is
daughter spent a
DHS.
lot of time in the hospital for trach infections, and she was saying that I was actually making her sick. I never was making my daughter sick.
Social workers have hands on sick children all the time. It's part of their job. So if a social worker is suspecting that a mother is continuously putting her child in the hospital, probably to gain some attention from the dad so she can say, oh, come here, and she can start all this drama, self-fulfilling narcissist nonsense.
This social worker has called me names and accused me of things that were not
She was really
true.
calling
Now,
you
in-
names. Why isn't she fired?
She's called you names. What has she called
She's
you?
called me a bad mother, and I'm one that tries to cause
Oh, so she
problems
called you on your
between,
shit.
the nurses and the doctors, and I'm
Those
very...
sound like clinical observations, not names.
But she doesn't have the right to make clinical observations. She doesn't have a medical degree.
That's her job, sweetheart.
Well, she's licensed to make those observations and assigned to the case.
Yeah, that's her job.
All I know
So
is...
what is she supposed to do?
She's supposed to... The job of a social worker is to make sure you have help with aftercare. You have to have, like, your supplies and stuff delivered. They're the ones that
What?
You read that that's the job of the social worker.
Because I've spent a lot of time in the hospital with my daughter. I mean, I pretty much know, like, things that they're supposed to be doing. And doctors have even told me
So
that
you
that's not her job.
understand what
Social
the
workers aren't supposed to hold me
mandate is
accountable.
for the
They're supposed to
licensing
keep me
act of
stopped.
social workers.
I don't understand what the congressional mandate is, but I do understand what doctors have told me when they've said that it's not her place to make those kinds of calls.
Okay.
Let's see if you've been cooperative
No
here.
doctor said that.
I haven't been. I'm not as much as I should.
On May 4th of 13, you write
He's pulling up
to
receipts.
Miguel, we hit a milestone tonight. You couldn't even care less.
Wow.
Miguel says, just woke up. What is the milestone? Candace, laugh out loud. Oh, you're going to act like you care this morning? Thought you had a trip with your precious Ugg this weekend. Now, who would Ugg be?
His wife. She has a name. I know. She has a name.
Miguel,
She's
what's
jealous.
the milestone, Candace? How is our daughter doing?
Good for
You
him.
respond, you'd know if you hadn't ditched her.
Wow.
Candace, does it not bother you a tiny bit that our daughter is trying to crawl today and you're not here to see it?
She's mad that he has moved on.
Sad, Miguel. Absolutely sad. Miguel
Typical
says, so that's
narcissist.
the milestone that you're telling me about?
Good for him
Candace,
for sticking on point.
No, it isn't. This is new. Doesn't matter. You're not here to see it.
Are you 5?
She acts like I don't care about my little girl.
You
My
need
daughter
to
walking
man
would be
up and go
wonderful.
see your daughter. I don't care what the hell somebody
Lady,
says.
shut up.
Thank you.
Put your finger down.
What I said.
Probably smells like booty
You should
hole.
have come see her regardless of what was happening.
Oh, crawl down off your high horse. Lady.
Yeah, hop on your broom and fly down, you wicked witch of the West. We need to cut the phrase man up just out of society's terminology. Really what it's doing is it's alluding to the fact that they don't have capability and ability over their own autonomy. They can't think for themselves. Everything they do is just solely because they're a man.
You set him up for failure.
I did.
And
Yes, she
then
has.
you criticize him when you win.
Yep.
It sounds to me
Typical modern
like you
woman.
are a woman scorned.
Yep.
In
It
ways,
sounds to
yes.
me that you are pissed off that he has moved on
At least she can admit it.
and that you are
Yep.
using your daughter as a pawn in order to get back at him.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with the fact that he's moved on.
Oh, that's
Yes, it
why you
does.
call her Ugg instead
No.
of Cynthia?
Yep.
Because,
I mean, what are we, 2 years old?
yeah, you're right.
Facts.
But at this point in time, currently, I do not.
But you
Have-
still think she's a skank and a whore and white trash and all the
No,
other
those
things.
were not my words.
Yeah.
I didn't say those words.
Yes, some of those came from your mother.
Oh, so now we get to
Some
see
of
where
the-
she gets it
the
from.
most-
At least we've got somebody mature here. Coming up, we're going to meet the woman Miguel says is the mastermind behind Candace's vindictive motives. It's been 6 months since Miguel has seen his ex-mother-in-law, but he's going to see her next.
If you have a mother-in-law horror story, please let me know.
Leah sent a lot of texts to Candace on the day of our wedding. She said, you're becoming a N-word lover.
I told Miguel, I said, I've called you plenty of things. A stupid punk, a mama's boy, a liar, a cheater, but I have never called you the N-word.
I don't believe her.
When we were together, Miguel would control all of our finances. Miguel would question me about where I went, how long I was there, who I was with. At one
Probably
point,
because
he
you were
would
overspending.
Take my phone with him to work because he was afraid that I would have contact with my family.
I don't
Miguel
think that's
had
true.
me convinced that my mom would tear us apart, that she was toxic for me.
Her smirk at the end of that statement. You see that? So why you would be happy thinking back to a time where you were being controlled, I don't know, unless you're actually happy about the fact that you are the one controlling the narrative.
My mom is not controlling me. Miguel is the controlling one.
Miguel hasn't seen his ex-mother-in-law in 6 months. He says she's so toxic, her own daughter cut ties with her while they were married. Take a look.
Leah sent a lot of texts to Candace on the day of our wedding, basically telling her that you're making a huge mistake, he's terrible for you. She said a lot of things like, you're becoming an N-word lover.
That is a lie, and he knows it.
If somebody accused me of calling them the N-word, I would be taken that very seriously. I'd be like, that is a lie. That girl looked like she was just told she's gonna have a cheeseburger for dinner.
And told me that I called his father the N-word and that I called him the N-word. I told him, I said, I've called you plenty of things. A stupid punk, a mama's boy, a liar, a cheater, but I have never called you the N-word.
Candace's mother, Leah, is a manipulator, a vindictive person, someone who always has to have drama in her life.
I'm gonna help my daughter keep away a baby who needs her dad.
Immediately start calling names. Miguel
But
has
being
called
racist
me
is just, that's where I draw the line.
Be a whore, a slut.
Something tells me that's a lie.
stupid, Insignificant, and a loser. Miguel told me he didn't want to sit at the same table with me because he said that I was fat and disgusting.
I don't believe I ever called her overweight, but gross and disgusting.
Yeah, I was
is
gonna
very
say, I think he did that
On the
because she
outside,
actually
Miguel
looked very
appears
sad about
very
that, and he said,
sweet
I don't
and charming,
believe I
but
did.
In reality,
I would've been like,
he
you don't
is
know
a
if you
very
called somebody that?
skilled liar.
So it's within your realm. You
Well,
could
Leah,
have.
thanks for joining us. Did you want her to marry him?
No, I did not.
Were you happy when she did?
No, I was not.
Okay. Have you teamed up with her in threatening him and trying to keep him away from seeing his child?
We did make some threats at the beginning, but
You should be
we
in
have
jail.
really moved so far past that.
Leah, you even come close to this house, I will have you arrested. Do you understand, you stupid, disgusting punk? And then you
She's
will
laughing.
come here and say, he won't come see his daughter.
Yeah, facts.
But we've tried to go past that is what I'm trying to say.
I don't need to apologize. I don't need to say, hey, I was wrong for that. It was in the past. Why hasn't he forgiven me for it?
We were all so angry at the time, but we've tried to move past that. But he still won't come see her. He still acts like she doesn't exist.
You have called Miguel punk, trash, deadbeat, stupid, idiot, loser, mama's boy, ignorant, and crybaby. The only good thing
And she
you've
thinks
ever
it's
done
funny.
was supply a tiny piece of DNA.
Tiny piece. Fathers
Then
supply
you sent
50%.
a text message.
She should be thanking him. That baby's cute. It doesn't come from her sides. You know what I mean?
That referred to Ugg, is it? Which I like to call Cynthia. Calling her
Look at the
cheap,
shame
trashy
expressing.
witch. Picked
She's
up on the
ashamed, but she
street,
thinks it's funny.
scrap and white trash.
Well, I mean, seriously, she walked in and stole my daughter's husband from her. I mean, I was mad. I'm not denying that for a minute. I was mad as a hornet.
You cannot steal a man from a woman that he wants to be with. When men cheat, a lot of the time it's because there's a need that he can't talk about because his partner just makes it so impossible for him to be open. Society holds so much like privilege and power in women's hands in their relationship, and the man is taught to believe that he can lose everything, especially in a marriage. So yeah, if he has wife, kids, him and his wife have not been boning, doing their thing, diddling the pissers, you know what I mean? If you've done everything you can, you've tried to communicate and it's not changing. I'm not gonna say it.
Why is it okay for him to call me on the phone and say these nasty things to me, but it's somehow not okay for us to come back?
He dumped her at my house with no warning, abandoned her and the baby with no warning, and then took up with somebody that he had been talking
No
to
warning.
for
There was a complete plan of her to spend time
That
at
is
your
in your
house.
head, and you know it.
Modern women have this delusion that as soon as they have a baby with a man, that they own the man. Suddenly, she needs to come first before any other woman. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because he has a baby with you doesn't mean he has to stay with you.
And then before we knew it, he was engaged again. So you tell me that you hadn't already had it planned to take up with somebody else.
Not at all.
Oh my God.
I think this mom has a
Now's
crush
the
on
only
him.
time you have a chance to be honest. Please do
Yeah,
that.
please do.
I've been nothing but honest from the whole get-go. When
Try it. Maybe it'll get contagious.
right from
I think this mom has a crush on her ex-husband, and because she looks like she's more butthurt about it than the daughter.
Day out. I don't know why everybody's acting like that it's our fault, all our fault.
Who's everybody?
Every time he says something, they applaud like he's some great speaker.
This isn't an election. This is just a conversation. I mean, come on, you've got to own the fact. Look, you're the adult here, right?
I own every stupid thing I did. I know.
I haven't heard her own it yet.
Stupid and angry I was.
Why did you do that?
Can you own how terrible that haircut is?
She's my daughter.
Well, there's one more.
I wanted the dick.
We might as well get her out here. Up next, for the first time, Candace will meet the woman she suspects was cheating with her ex-husband while they were still married.
Damn.
The woman she refers to as Ugg. After the break.
Not anymore.
She does not want to meet this chick. That's the most emotion I've seen from her.
I'm very afraid that Cynthia is an alcoholic.
Cynthia is trash. I think anybody that purposely goes in and messes up somebody's marriage, what else are you going to call them?
My relationship with
She
Miguel
didn't
is
owe
perfect,
his wife
for
anything.
The issues with Candace and her mother. They are teenagers.
Oh, so that's why she's mad. Because his new wife is pretty.
I have never met Miguel's new wife, Cynthia. I've seen her from a distance and seen pictures of her. I've seen many photos of Cynthia drinking alcohol. I don't like to judge like that, but
Oh, no, a grown woman
might
drinking
at
alcohol.
least have a drinking problem.
I'm
What?
very afraid that Cynthia is an alcoholic.
Cynthia appears to me as somebody who hasn't grown up, somebody who is selfish, who wants what doesn't belong to her. Cynthia appears to me as somebody who might just be as mean and vindictive as Miguel is.
My nickname for Cynthia is, I believe she is a big word.
I think she's trash. I think anybody that purposely goes in and messes up somebody's marriage.
It's funny how in
what else are you gonna
society, if
call
you're
them?
pretty, you're a
After
whore.
Miguel
She's
dumped
literally just mad
Candace
that this
and
girl's
Ellie,
prettier
we saw
and skinnier
Facebook
than her.
pictures
And I'm not even
posts
fat
of
shaming. Like
Cynthia
that is a
and
fact.
Miguel
It's okay to
within
be
a matter of
big.
weeks. Miguel's in a relationship.
Big is
with
beautiful, whether you're a
Cynthia,
man or a
hugging
woman,
each
in my
other
opinion.
and sharing their holidays. It's disgusting.
Let's be honest, why
I
are you really
wanted to
mad?
slap his head off, and I wanted to slap her head off too. Cynthia stole my daughter's husband. I think Cynthia would love to steal Ellie.
My biggest issue with Cynthia is not so much that she's with Miguel. I believe that she has inserted herself into Ellie's life and trying to be a step-parent to a child she doesn't know. I just don't
It comes
want to
with
bring
dating a man with a
stranger
child.
like that around my daughter.
Then get to know her.
Leah, you had said earlier that all of this name calling and
So
immaturity
controlling.
and want to slap their heads off and everything was early on when you were really upset, but that you had matured through that.
I know.
We taped this yesterday.
I was thinking that while I was
yeah,
saying
just-
it. I thought I wasn't mad at you.
I've grown.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
24 hours earlier.
Yeah, right.
they were
Okay.
asking.
Cynthia says that she has been
doesn't
nothing
like
but
us.
nice and can't believe the childish behavior and horrible harassment
doesn't like us.
she's received from people she doesn't even know.
Because Dr. Phil just isn't buying any of their stuff. She was like, he doesn't like us very much. No, you don't like yourself, and that's why you're a terrible person. Like, read the room.
I went on my first date with Miguel on February 4th. And then 5 months later, we got married. I love it. It's the most beautiful ring I've
That's
ever
pretty quick.
My relationship with Miguel is perfect, except for the issues with Candace and her mother. Candace and her mother act
She
like
looks so
they're
bitter.
teenagers, sending mean text messages and threats. They are needlessly malicious. Miguel's ex-wife, Candace, is a horrible person. If you took all of the bad things you could think of and wrapped them into one person, that's how I see her. Early
Damn.
on in my relationship with Miguel,
She's the Becky.
Candace was messaging me, telling me that Miguel was a bad person and that I needed to leave him. On Facebook, if you're not friends with someone, you have to pay money to send them a message. So
Oh.
not only did she go out of her way to message
that true?
me, but she actually paid to do that. Candace and her mother are very disrespectful of my position as Miguel's wife and as Ellie's stepmother. I love Ellie, even though Candace tries to keep Miguel away from Ellie. Miguel and I are going to do
Yeah,
everything
she's
we
just
can
seething
to
with
constantly
jealousy.
pursue his right to see his child.
Typical modern single mother. Can't move on. Is
Well,
going to
thank you for being
sacrifice
here.
the child's needs.
I appreciate it. This is Leah,
Oh, nice to meet you.
and this is Candace.
Nice to meet you too, Candace.
Hello.
Lol.
And you
She
know,
looks like a
another
mean
nurse
girl
out
in
there
high
talking
school.
about the things that we've said. She said some things that she doesn't know anything about. She doesn't know anything about us.
Why are you
except
so
what he's told
defensive?
her.
Well,
and
she
he
knows-
might be a little biased.
She
I've
knows
seen
a-
things that you've written to him.
Why don't you tell him when I sent that text message? It's days after you dumped my daughter. So why are you acting like it's a daily thing? Why are you sitting there acting like it's a daily thing? Like we're harassing
wait a
y'all?
minute. She just got here. What do you mean? What do you mean sitting there?
That mom
acting
wants his
like,
dick.
How is she acting like anything? She's just sitting there.
I'm talking about. She just said
Why
that
is
we
it not
harassed
okay
her.
for us to be upset? Can
She
you
just
please answer
said that we've been harassing
sorry?
her. I've never said one word.
Because it's not about you.
Can you please just explain to me why it's not okay for me to be upset?
Because you're an awful person.
Because you have a daughter that's getting caught in the crossfire between your immature
Yep.
exchanges with your husband. That's
You're like, the
why-
relationship's over. Move on.
No, there's no but. You said, tell me why it's not okay for me to get upset. I said, because your daughter's paying the price. She's caught in the crossfire between your sophomoric behavior with your husband and Cynthia.
Right.
That's why we wanted
And instead
to
of her
do
saying,
this,
"Oh,
because
shit,"
it's time it stopped.
she goes,
Because
but
here's the
That's
thing.
what I'm trying. You look like you don't believe me. It's absolutely the truth. Dr. Phil, I've waited all my life to meet you. I want your help. I seriously do. And it's not all our fault.
I'm not saying it is.
I legitimately just want to
You
get
heard me
past-
say straight up that he needs to man up, not be
Ugh, I hate that
intimidated
term.
by your ridiculous threats and name calling.
Exactly. I know that was not the right thing to do. And Ellie means more to us than I can even put into words.
then grow up.
I don't want her to get to the point old enough that she sees this going on.
Then
I
put her
want us
first.
To make sure
Well, let
we
me ask
fix
you a
it
question.
first.
How would you feel if he had Ellie and was with his family and locked you out and threatened you if you came around?
Better question here would have been, how would you feel if when you grew up, you learned that you were a little fighter right from a baby? Only one was there for you because your mom and your grandma were too busy doing everything they could to prevent your dad from being there for you.
How would you feel about that?
Dr. Phil,
Heartbroken.
I have thought about that. It would break my heart. I would want to die if that happened. I don't want that for them. I have felt sorry for his mother because she doesn't get to be the. I know you might not believe it, but it's the truth. I feel sorry that she doesn't get to be part of Ellie's life.
You guys accused his mom of trying to kill Ellie.
She turned the oxygen off. What would you call it?
It was on when I walked off, when I walked out of the room, and it was off
she
when I
admitted
came
it.
back
She
in.
said
You
she
put the-
did it.
you
She
put the
turned off
pieces
the
Then put her in jail.
Thank you.
Why else would be her
if that was
reason?
the case, though, why wouldn't you call the police?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't prove it.
Why wasn't
There was no way to prove it. What were we gonna do?
Or believe me, we would have.
So you
No.
can't talk about something you don't know because you weren't there. Thank you.
God.
Are you still in love with Miguel?
God knows.
Yes. Look at the mom blushed. She's like, oh shit, for a second I thought he was asking me.
Out of her way to include Miguel in his daughter's life. So does he know the latest information about his daughter? We'll find out after the break.
The last time I visited my daughter, she was starting to make noises with her mouth, make little pops, and stand up on her own by pulling herself up. But I have not seen a single video or even a text message with information of what she is capable of doing right now. I have
Okay,
no
so
idea
then you
whether
need to
Ellen can
like
walk.
continue
I
to
have seen
ask,
her crawl
keep a
across the bed, so I'm pretty
collection
sure
of all
she's
the
standing
times you've
on the
asked, all the
floor,
times
but
you've been denied, and go to
past
court.
that, I have no idea.
You owe your daughter that.
Miguel says part of the reason he's here today is to find out how his medically disabled daughter is doing. He hasn't seen her in 4 months and blames his ex, Candace, for keeping him away.
So sad.
Candace says, hey, I have gone out of my way to be accommodating to Miguel, but he's just too wrapped up in his new life with his new wife.
Everything that we're saying now needs to be said. I have lots of questions that I feel need to be answered,
Which are?
such as, how long have you actually been with Cynthia?
Oh.
None of her business.
But if I feel like he was cheating on me, why shouldn't I know that?
What does that
This
have
is
to
none of your
do
business
with your
anymore.
child? You are now into
Yeah.
co-parenting. See, the relationship didn't work. You got a
Facts.
divorce.
Yes.
Because he
right?
dumped her.
But that's
Who cares? It's over.
I know.
Yeah,
This is
thank you.
not history class. This is Dr. Phil. History class is happening over at the high school. This is now. We're here. So we're here talking about the child, and you say you want to know if he cheated on you.
Yeah, it's all about
I
me,
don't.
me.
Did he cheat on her? I don't know. He says no.
No cheating.
There's no
ever.
cheating. They say no cheating. One of the first things I ask you is that you seem like a woman scorned, and you said, oh, yeah. I
In
can
ways
play that back.
I am, but not in ways I am not because they're together. It has
Yes, it
nothing
is.
to do with that.
So you're scorned by someone else?
With that.
No, I'm scorned because of the way he's treated me, and he's acting like it's all my fault.
You can't get over
It's
it.
not all my fault because
You still have
it
feelings
takes
and you can't
two
get
to
over it.
tango, doesn't it? He wasn't trying to come see her, but I wasn't necessarily trying to let him. It just doesn't make sense how this all seems like it's my
nobody
fault.
Do you
said
think
it's
that
your
you
fault.
doing
I
that
thought
first
the
might have
part
led to
about
where you
whether
are?
You were a good wife and husband was pretty much resolved with a divorce. That you decided that wasn't
Yeah.
working. And maybe he's a crummy husband. Maybe
He's a great husband.
He was crummy to her.
Maybe he has grown up. Maybe he will be a better husband to you than he
Oh,
was to me. But please do not sit there
God.
and act like what I went through didn't happen, because it did.
It
I was
probably
there,
didn't.
You weren't, that I know of.
That was pretty funny.
I've never met someone as mean as you.
She is not mean. She's wonderful.
Oh,
And you married somebody way meaner than she is.
I think I would have
I'm
figured
only
that
Wonderfully
out.
stupid.
Easy now, easy now.
He went running through the house one
But
night when I
are
was
we
there
being-
screaming and cussing me out like I was a dog under his
They were
feet.
taking my daughter away when she left
You
the
are
first
lying.
time.
She, the
I'm not
only
gonna
thing
talk to him
she,
anymore. He's lying.
the only thing she said that night.
Please,
that
you
got
should have stopped
upset
talking
about
10
was
minutes
the fact
ago.
That she said, I came to see you and Ellie.
That
Who
was
else did
then,
she
this
come to
is
see?
now.
Yeah, like what
If
does
you
this
love
have to do with your
daughter, and
kid?
I know you do. Then you need to decide.
I do. You had to think about that for a sec? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I do love my daughter.
That you want to work on getting past all of this anger and bitterness and co-parent actively. And there is no excuse, not drive time, not feelings of tension or stress,
That's right.
or anything else.
You have to put that
should
aside
be
for your
a
kid.
high enough mountain or a thick enough wall to keep you from being actively involved in
Yes.
your daughter's life. And
You do whatever you
I
have to do.
think you do have a lot of unresolved conflict here, and I very much want to get you some help with that.
I would love that.
Now, Candace sent us some video of Ellie that you haven't seen. I wanted to give Miguel an opportunity to see his daughter in one of her most recent milestones.
You couldn't
Here
have done
go.
this privately?
I miss my baby.
That's my baby. Shut up.
That was at therapy.
Shut up.
She gets therapy once a week.
Yo, he
with
doesn't give a fuck what
speech
you're saying, bitch.
And physical and occupational.
He's just tuning her out. What she wants is for him to be thinking right now, oh, wow, she is so good. She's just so good. Let me toss her salad. Like, shut up.
So
I
there
miss
you go. She was a pound,
1 pound 9 ounces, 13
1
inches
pound
long.
9 ounces at birth.
Her body was the length of my hand, and her
Oh,
little
shut
limbs would
up.
just hang off.
And she has fought since the day she was born. That's why it's important that we get this worked
She doesn't
out.
deserve this that we have, Miguel. We have to get past this.
You should take your own advice
I want to get past it. I do.
Well, listen, I am going to get you some help.
until
and
he does
support.
something that
Fair
she doesn't
enough?
like.
Okay, next. It's been 10 years.
Society just doesn't talk enough about deadbeat moms and alienating mothers. The rhetoric always goes to, oh, it's a deadbeat dad, it's his fault, he's the one who's not succeeding. But at the end of the day, there are often times where there are evil, vindictive women who have had a baby with a man, either with his knowledge, with his permission, or against his will. And they think that that child gives them rights, privileges that they just really don't have. It's a delusion. They think that this man has to stay forever. They think that his money is entitled to her forever. And modern mothers think that they can just act, behave any way that they want to, and the father just has to shut up, put up, and if he dare walks away, it's just so easy to villainize him in the media, on social media, when at the end of the day, there are a lot of bitter, nasty baby mamas out there. And instead of society recognizing it and doing something about it, they want to go ahead, walk through life, be blind, pretend like all mothers are great and all fathers are terrible, and then they can continue to play victim. Well, mommies and daddies, if you're new here, welcome, because here, I don't let people play victim. I call it exactly how it is. This woman was bitter Becky bitch because he moved on, she wasn't shit, and and she used her helpless child to attempt to control and manipulate him. And it's disgusting. Some people just should not have babies. Please remember to activate that like button so it can wake up, go to Becky's house, and dip all of her tampons in tuna juice. She won't be getting any dick walking around smelling like a fish factory, that's for sure. Thank you.
Don't gotta be oh, baby, no, it'll be okay.